Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I am here today with Natalie.
Hi.
And we have such a fun project for you. For a long time, we've been wanting to do a storm at sea, and we keep getting requests for that all the time.
Yeah.
And I have a friend, I was looking through her patterns, and she did a giant storm at sea. And I thought, what better way to start storm at sea than, go big?
Yes.
Go big or go home, right? You know?
Yep.
So her quilt is, because it's a big storm at sea, it's called Tsunami. And this is the quilt behind us.
Yep.
And of course, she has lots of different sizes on her pattern. And color plays a huge role in this quilt. But we are going to show you how to do this. It's all made up of super easy blocks. And so we're going to show you how to do this, and we hope you enjoy it. So to make this quilt, what are we going to need, Natalie?
We're going to need one package of 10-inch print squares, and we use Tonga Treats Batiks Honor by Timeless Treasures.
And then we're going to need some accent fabric.
Yes, because we decided to make our quilt with a layer cake, and you want all of your diamonds to be made out of a dark fabric.
Yeah, depending upon the color, this quilt has so much movement.
Right, but also the diamond shape doesn't fit on the layer cake, so we went with yardage for that.
Okay.
So you'll need a yard of a fabric for your diamonds.
And then your backing is three and a half yards. And this, I love the Tonga Batik backs. Look at all those. It's just like Happy 4th of July. It's like all the fireworks going off.
Batiks are just fun. They're just full of color and interest.
They're just beautiful. All right, so other helpful tools will be this template.
Yep. And if you want the pattern, you'll need to go to Deonn's website. It's available there.
Quiltscapesqs.com. And
we'll have a link in the description.
yeah, there'll be a link in there. And for those of you who don't know, when you look at the top little thing on YouTube, I didn't know this, so I'm going to explain this to all us older ladies who aren't so tech savvy. On the top right-hand side, there's a little tiny V. If you push that, that's where the supplies drop down from. And so this will be helpful for you on this because, you'll need to know where to go to get the pattern. Now, the pattern comes with a printout.
There is a printout
of the template.
Yeah,
but,
and you can put that together. You're just going to match up these overlapping lines and cut it out. And then you can use your ruler to slide along the edge of the paper template, so that's totally fine.
We just did this for you because it's easier and because
we love having easy things.
I only cut a paper template like once, and then I'm like, I can't do
that's
this.
hard.
So I do love a template.
Yeah. So your pattern will come with a template. But if you want an acrylic one, we have those available as well.
And one of the things I want you to watch for is this is probably going to be coming out in several different sizes because as you learn to make...
We'll chat.
As you learn to make the storm at sea, you're going to want to make them different sizes. It's going to be fun. All right, so let's show them how to do this.
Okay. All right, so we're going to open up our pattern, and the first thing you're going to see is a cutting chart. Now, each column has how many things you're going to need, and it's all for different sizes. We're making the lap quilt because that is what we can make with a layer cake.
So I was going to say that she has different sizes on here, which is really cool when pattern people can do that.
Yeah.
And I would probably take a highlighter and just run a line down here so that I knew what side I was working from because that gets me a little confused.
Right. So then the next thing you're going to want to do is go by your light darks and all these colors on the right or the left-hand side, and you're going to separate your layer cake into darks, mediums, medium lights. And because our layer cake was not specifically like that, we just said, oh, well, we're going to make our medium darks the blue ones, and our red ones are going to be the medium light ones because we wanted to still use the layer cake. We wanted to use the precut.
Consistency in color, basically.
Right. So we didn't necessarily do exactly dark, medium, dark, light. We just picked colors and then we labeled them so we knew what to make with what color.
That's perfect. And there really are only 3 blocks to make this quilt.
Totally.
And they're super easy.
So once you get all the organization done, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
All right. I would go ahead and make a little color chart and label all your pieces so you know exactly what you have.
Yeah, so she has over here on this side, she has blue, white, medium blue, dark blues. You know, she has all the words written in so that she knows.
And you'll
how many
notice on the
pieces.
quilt, I didn't do, like these blues, I considered all to be medium blues. They're not necessarily the exact same fabric, but, and even the white, there was only a couple of these in the layer cake, and so these are the ones that ended up being the star. These ones ended up matching for some reason, but I just...
For some reason.
Well, just because there ended up being 4 of them, I don't know.
Perfect.
But, you know, the reds are all different and the blues are all different, but I tried to put together like colors.
That's awesome.
So I think it worked well.
It's
you know,
just beautiful. I think it's a stunning
fun.
quilt.
It's really fun to do, and color changes will change the whole look of this quilt.
It'll change the whole look. So yeah, if you can, you can look at this one right here.
Oh, this is another thing to point out. On this chart, it will tell you, so all of these, as we're going through saying dark, light, medium, blah, 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 she also labeled them with a letter. So you can look here and say, oh, the A block, the dark, that's going to be all the diamonds.
Yeah.
The B squares are going to be this large square and the small squares that go around the small square in a square block.
But look how much movement is in this color, even just in the photograph. And so it's just fun to see. Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Deonn. You did great.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right, so we're going to pull some squares and start making our blocks. We have 3 blocks to make the entire quilt. One block is this little square in a square.
Which, by the way, once you know how to do that, you are going to use this block all the time.
So easy. Then we're going to make this larger square in a square, and we're going to make the diamond block.
Okay.
That's it.
Perfect.
So the first thing we're going to do is take that centerpiece, square D, and we're going to cut it down to 6 1/8.
6 and an 8.
This will be easier. Because then you can just, well, yes, because then you can just go down into the corner.
Here, I'm just going to hold this.
We're going to go 6 1/8, and remember the 1/8 is inside the quarter line,
Yes,
right next to the
very
line.
tiny, but you need it.
And I'm just going to do this, because then I can save this for another project. So that is ready to go, and then this piece.
And I actually think this is one of the things that I hesitated doing a storm at sea is because I can't use every single piece, and I'm not a waster, and I like to use every single piece.
So if you want to use every single piece, just go with yardage.
You're just going to go with yardage.
Get the yardage that you want. So this piece we're going to cut into 4 5-inch squares, and 2 of these will be used on a different block. And then 2 of them we're going to cut diagonally.
I get to be the sewer.
You get to sew today, and I'll press. So we'll cut these both on the diagonal. And then you're going to just stitch one on each side, and you can center them or
And
find
that's a 5-inch square.
You can fold them and press.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a little center seam on my block here. Just finger press a little crease. And then I'm also going to finger press a little crease on this right here.
Yeah, so you can get those centered up.
And then we'll just lay this on here.
For you. So they're ready.
And if you want to eyeball it, your little triangle is going to stick over about a 1/4 inch on either side.
These get, Deonn is very precise in her measurements, so you'll want to be pretty careful with your 1/4 inch seam.
Was that a hint for me?
That was a hint. That was a hint for everyone in the world.
All right.
We do square them to 8 1/2, but there's very little waste.
Which is
really
kinda cool, right?
Yeah, it's really exact.
Now, I love working with batiks. They iron so nicely, they sew so nicely.
All right, so that's pressed back, and now you can add the other 2 sides.
And we will put, let me put my little.
Oh, I should have done that for you on the
That's
iron.
all right. I can do it with a fingernail, a half a fingernail. I've been gardening. My fingernails aren't so pretty these days. And I'm lined up on the 1/4 inch line. Look at me being so good.
You are.
And then we've got another one here. And we are going to lay that in there. Now that you said that, Deonn is so precise, I'm like,
Oh, don't stress. It'll be fine.
all right, there we go. There's that one.
Okay. So I'm going to press this back. And then it is going to get squared to 8.5.
We'll see how we did now, you guys.
It won't be bad at all.
So do you do your 4 line up right here with the center of this?
4 1/4, roughly. And you do just try to center it up as best you can. And I found some of mine came out a little small because I tend to have a larger 1/4 of an inch, but everything still went together pretty well.
Okay.
So you're kind of just cutting off the little dog ears, or whatever you call them, those little edges.
Yes, we don't want anyone cutting off dogs' ears. That would not be good.
Not real dogs.
Quilting dogs.
Just the little pointers. And there you go.
And
so what you're going to do...
Look how cute this is. So this block shows up. You know, you've got 1, 2, 3,
total.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these are going to show up in the block.
So you make 9 of those blocks, and then you set them aside and start on block number 2.
All right, let's go.
All right, so block number 2 is the larger square in a square in a square.
Yes. So it's this one we're doing right here. So we've got the square, in a square, in a square.
Right.
All right.
Now for this block, I'm gonna vary a little bit from the pattern because she says to cut your squares down to 9 and 9 1/4, and I think if we leave them larger, we might have more room to square at the end.
Let's try it.
So
so that's actually how I feel about every pattern. It's kind of a jumping off point for me. This is how you do it, and then it's what if. And so I love that. I see a lot of that on our Facebook pages, you know, on the 'Tis the Season block of the month and on the All Stars page, and people are like, "Well, this happened, so I did this," and I'm like, "Yes," you know, I love seeing that.
Right.
All right.
So the one I am going to cut the middle to 8.5.
Okay.
That's the center, and we use this a light square.
Okay.
So this will be 8.5, and I'm only gonna.
Now, which center? This center here or these?
Those ones.
Okay.
It's a light block. It could be that one, or we could use
Okay.
the other one if you want to.
All right. No,
Do
this
you
is
care?
fine.
Okay.
Only a little OCD. Just a tiny.
Well,
This will work.
I think we'll be okay.
As long as you use a light, right?
Yep, it's just got to be whichever fabrics you chose for that particular color number.
All right.
Number thing. Okay, so the medium light, or this next piece right out here, which we actually changed to very dark, that one I am going to follow and cut exact because it's going to be on the inside, and I won't be squaring that. I'll be squaring the outside edge. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So what we're going to do is we're going to square this block to 9 1/4, and then we'll cut it on the diagonal twice.
Now, the reason you would not leave that at 10 is because then you'd have to square it twice, and this way we shouldn't have
Right.
to.
We're gonna go with exact measurements on this one.
Okay.
So 9 1/4. And then I'm gonna need the long ruler to cut on the diagonal.
Oh, let me
of
see.
this
I'm
one.
sure I have
I've
one
got it
right
right
there.
here.
Oh, okay.
It was just hiding out of sight. So we'll cut
That's funny.
that.
I was thinking about the long one.
Oh no, not that long.
To me, this isn't my long ruler.
The 15 is good. Actually, I'm gonna put that up that way so I can get a good angle on it.
And I'm going to sew.
You are going to sew, and
My
this
favorite
is
thing.
essentially the same as what we just did, just a little bit bigger.
I was at the retreat center yesterday. We're having a glamping retreat this week. It happens the first weekend in June. And I was talking about, you know, the squaring and all that kind of stuff. And it's just interesting how everybody has a different way of doing things, and
Yeah.
just pretty fun. Actually, I'm not sure that was what I was even going to talk about, but I lost off my train. My train got off the track.
It is interesting. There are a lot of different ways to get to an end result.
All right, so we're going to start this one
Yep,
here.
yep,
Make sure it sticks off just a little bit,
yep.
and sew down the side. All right, so now I'm starting on the other side here.
Yep,
Watching my 1/4 inch.
yep. And then I'll press that real quick.
Actually, I think if I just
Oh, you're
finger
gonna
press
finger
these
press it.
back,
Perfect, good idea.
because batiks, does it so
They
easily.
do lay really flat.
Yep. And then we're gonna make sure this is on my line and sticking over. And one
Okay,
more.
these other two pieces we are going to cut once on the diagonal. So I'm going to stack them, and I'm going to leave these ones big because then we can square our blocks at the end.
I kind of feel a triple play coming on with this block.
I feel like that would be really fun. I've always wanted to make one myself, and I think it would just be like amazing.
So here's our inner block.
Okay.
The inner.
So then we have 2 more blocks, and Deonn says to square them to 9 inches, but I'm going to go ahead and leave them at 10, and then we'll square the whole block down, just because then we only cut once on this.
That's right.
Just on this step. That's the only thing. All right. So now we're going to finger press these and stick them on your
I'll start with
middles.
yours because I already have a middle place right here to line up to.
Perfect.
And so I will just lay that on there. And now it is like a full inch on either side.
It's going to be a little bit big, but I think you'll appreciate that when it comes time to square these up. And it will work great either way. You can cut them down to 9 and cut them diagonally if you want to. I just prefer to cut once if I can skip a step. That's all.
And that's kind of what our brains do. We think of the shortcuts. So, you know, that's what we're here to help you with. All right. And then this is pretty big. Go ahead and press that.
Okay.
And then we'll put the other 2 on.
Oh.
That wants to be,
fold
wow,
up
out there.
and be a little weird.
It's all right, we're going to go right over the other side of that.
And it will get cut right off when we square it.
What size does this square to?
These square to the giant size, I believe, of 16.5 inches.
Whew. All right, you might want to get a bigger ruler, or are you going to do it on the mat?
I am going to use the mat, but I would actually love a bigger ruler.
All right, now let's start down the other side. All right, give that a press.
Okay, then we're ready to square.
That is a nice big block.
Nice.
You know, when you make big blocks in a quilt, that quilt gets done so fast.
It does. It goes together really quickly. All right, I'm going to move these because we're going to use our big mat. We're going to put this in for the 16.5, and it looks like we've got about 1/4 of an inch on each side to take off.
Do they make rulers that big, 16?
We have a 5x24.
No, I mean
A 16.5 square.
Yeah.
I think they do. I have one for t-shirt quilting.
You know, we are quilters of making do with what we have around us. And so a lot of times it's like, oh, I wonder if we even have one of those.
Yes.
And it's like, yes, we do.
We do. All right, so I want this to end at 16.5, and I am making sure that I have it hung over on this side a little bit because I want to take the same amount from each side.
Could you come out from the middle?
You can.
8 1/4?
Yes. So to do that, see, we'd need to be right about here, which is pretty much
What you're doing.
where I'm
Okay.
at. Yeah, I was just kind of eyeballing it, but
Yeah,
you
there's
can,
more than one way to figure
you
it
can
out.
measure 8 1/4 from the middle and go out that way and just make sure that you're lined up. And then I'm going to use the mat and the ruler to get a nice straight edge on this side. Try not to melt the rotary cutter into your iron. Feel it, it's
Is it warm?
Whoops. All right, so we got that side.
And then use this, flip it and use that as your straight edge.
Yes, then you're going to turn it right around and get 16.5 on this direction.
And if it feels like it's too much, take a little less and flip it around
Just
again.
look at it, yeah, just look at it and make sure you've got what you need.
Because what we're trying to do is when you sew it together, you don't want to lose this point on the square.
Right.
And so you need to make sure you have at least a quarter of an inch, if not a tiny bit more, on the points of those squares.
Okay, so now I'm gonna line this up, and actually I've got 8 1/4 right here on the mat, so I'm looking at that and trying to get this point close to it. But I also don't want to lose my 1/4 inch on either side of this, so that is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to eyeball it, because honestly, it doesn't matter if it's tiny bit one way or the other. All these things come together and it looks really good. We're going for finished product, not perfection.
That's right. Well, and we get better all the time.
We do. I might need to pull this over. I just noticed that it was really far in over here, so making another adjustment. 1 sec.
Well, and the thing that's good about that is that you do want to check really well before you cut.
Because you don't want to lose a point on one side.
And you don't want to have to sew a little strip back on either.
No. Which,
Although
I mean,
I've done that.
That is a solution to the problem.
I have definitely done that.
All right. Keeping that all lined up. I think I'm going to take another little bit off the other side. Just going to take off a little bit, like, I don't know.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge. A quarter of an inch. I was just a little too far over. So. Because I want my sides to be even. All right. That looks much better. There you go.
All right.
It's all set.
That's our nice big square in a
16
square.
and a half
in a square.
inches. And you only need to make 4.
Yeah. So
4
4
for
of
this
those.
block.
So here's this block. And here's our others. Now, what about our, now we're on to the big diamond.
The diamond block. This one is just as easy as the rest. All right, so we're going to cut some diamonds from our yardage. And to do that, you want to cut 7 5/8 inch strips.
I'm going to move this a little bit because you could like fly off there.
I
with the rotary
could.
cutter.
I could go crazy. So I'm going to line this up, and I think I'm just going to go 7 1/2 because that's pretty close to 7 5/8.
Well, 7 5/8 is bigger than 7
Oh,
1/2.
then
so
I'm
you
gonna
want to
go-
you want to
I'm gonna
err
go
on the upside. So just go 8.
I'm glad you told me that. I know that it is. I just wasn't thinking.
Go the 8.
Okay. I'm going to go with 8.
Yeah, anytime they use direct, measurements that are like 9 7/16, I mean, it's like,
I think I'll just go 7 3/4.
I mean, 7 5/8. The difference between 5/8 and a half is this
an
much.
1/8 of an inch.
But you want to err on the side of big,
But it'd
right?
be better for it'd be better for
So
it to be big.
3/4 makes sense to you more than 5/8, and do it 3/4 and just trim it down. When you trim your diamonds, you'll see.
Okay. So I'm going to use this template, and it should fit right on here in this space. And I actually am very happy that I have a little bit of extra, because then it can be exact. You can open that up and get another one.
So this is actually a difference in the way people were taught that they quilted.
What do you mean?
I mean, so when you're taught the old traditional way from a traditional quilter, you cut things to the exact size and you don't square.
Uh-huh.
And because I use pre-cuts and things like that, I just cut things bigger and then, I want to square them up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it's just a
And you
different way of
taught me,
thinking.
so I'm the same.
And the thing about it is, first of all, it's not bad to learn new things. And second of all, if your way works, your way works. So
Yeah, we'll all get there
We'll get there.
eventually.
all right, so what's around these? Oh, the red.
So we've got to choose
here's
some
some red.
red squares. You
Here's some
can
red.
choose.
Whatever ones you want.
Now I cut all of my red squares up and then mixed them throughout the quilt, so there's different colors in different places. And you are going to need 2 of these because you'll need to have
2 for each block?
On all 4 sides,
Okay.
yes. And then there is one difference here in this quilt. You'll notice that 4 of the diamond blocks have really light star legs on one side.
Oh, that's good. So the
The
star
rest of them
pops.
are red, but you're going to want to make sure that you have 4 that you pull out the white
Yeah.
for.
So this right here is the
Do you
same.
want to make?
This
do you
is
want
the
to make
same.
one of those?
Same diamond, but we've got red on the top and white on the bottom. But all the rest
And
of
then the
these
rest
are only red. Just red,
Right.
red, red. All right.
Okay, so these ones, to put the legs on these, we're going to cut our layer cake in half. So we have 2 5x10" strips. And then these are going to get cut on the diagonal. And because it's batik, it doesn't matter which direction they
Which
go.
side?
Because you can flip one. But if you're using print fabric, you're going to want to make sure that you cut some this way and some that way.
Yeah,
So
good
that
point.
you can border your diamond.
Good point.
All right. So now we're going to take these and we're going to square up our diamond.
All right, let me get these apart and show them how they go on.
They go on like this. And I would recommend overlapping by, I don't know, maybe a 1/2 inch at the top.
Okay.
Let's see what Deonn says. She says, align and stitch the triangle at the middle should hang over by quite a bit, but the top doesn't hang over as much.
So
But I would still,
So you can do the middle here and then do the middle here like this and make sure that
you can center it, but I would probably overhang my top just at least by 1/4 inch so that you
All right.
have enough for squaring.
Well, let's see where it lands here. Yeah,
All
it's
right,
about a
that's
1/2 inch,
perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. So go ahead and fold and center and then line up those lines.
And then,
And I would do your 2 opposite sides and then flip it and do the other 2.
yeah. So we'll do
So.
this one. And you want to make sure that, oh, look at that. So make sure that when you put it on there, it forms a square.
Right. And then when you turn it inward, your wide piece is always going to be at the top with the narrow piece at the sides of the diamond.
And when you start putting these together, you'll get in a rhythm. And so, like, I just naturally laid that over a 1/2 inch. I didn't even have to press my little folds.
Right.
All right, you want to press those?
Yep. It's good to have
Let's move some of
a
this
little
stuff
nest
off
or
our
a
ironing
pressing
board.
partner.
It is.
Do all the tops and bottoms and then press them all and then do the sides after. All right. So now you're going to be adding these onto the other side.
And it should go this way.
Yep.
It's so funny how that can quickly can happen. All right,
Yeah.
I'll put this over here. And I like to sew top to bottom, so, I like to sew with my fabric on the outside.
Uh-huh.
So I am just going to overlap this up here so that it will match.
Perfect.
And this is a time I actually might
Like use a
Crease it.
stylus or you would what?
crease it.
Oh, crease it. I thought you said free sew and I wasn't sure what that was.
All right, so let's see if this is going to work now.
It'll
One more.
work. It's going to be good. You're going to love this.
And we're over half
Should we
an
make
inch.
do we want to make a star with
Yes,
light
yes,
lace on
yes.
one side?
I think
Okay.
so too.
I'll go ahead and cut those.
It never hurts to show more than one.
Of course.
My thread came undone, so let me rethread this real quick. All right, so now we're going to start down this side. Make sure we're lined up.
So
There we
these
go.
go on that side. And then here's a couple of red ones for the other side.
So if we want to do the 2 top pieces, will it work?
What do you
Like my white
can
is,
be-
is
they
both
can-
going to go on the same side.
Yeah,
so.
it doesn't matter because these can be turned either way. They're not
Okay, so then I can just put this one on over here this way.
Yes, you just have to make sure that your the two lights are in on one end of the diamond.
I think what I was meaning, and I didn't say it right, was on the last one we did opposites. And so now I'm doing top.
So yeah, it doesn't matter.
And then I'll do bottom.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Oh, did I take your pieces? I'm sorry.
You took my
I
stuff.
thought you had them already.
There we go.
Okay.
So this is going to come down here.
And I'm going to go ahead.
And we are going to press that one open.
Line that up. So these get squared to 8.5 by 16.5.
Again, on the cutting on this, you're going to, I'm going to press this one for you while I'm,
while
you're
I'm
cutting.
squaring.
Yeah, so 16.5 is what it ends up.
Uh-huh. Well, that's what it squares to, 16.5 by 8.5. And this one I'm just going to shape just a teeny tiny bit off. I got a little, I would rather err on the side of a larger first cut, and that's why this happens to me occasionally when I have to go back and cut the other side down just a little bit more. I don't want to cut it so tight that I can't make it right. So now I'm going to line this up so it's at 8.5. And try and center it so that...
Center here, and you're...
We're doing that?
Where the middle part is on the 8.5.
I don't know what center you're lining up
with. So actually, if you do this on the big line where you can see side to side,
right,
then this should be then 8.25 from this line, right?
Yes.
Every brain works differently, and Natalie often gets confused at mine.
Well, I understand now. So this, you're not going to be taking very much off these sides because it's pretty tight.
Which is nice.
And so we're at 8.25 on each side, or 1/4 inch on each side. So I would rather have it in this L and know that I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5.
Okay.
But I like the centering at the beginning to get that good first cut. So,
well, and let me tell you truthfully, no way works perfectly every time. No way does. All right, so here's this one. And these are going to be in these outside corners. So here's here and here, 2 down here on the bottom, 2 on each side, and 2 across the top this way. And then we've got our one with the...
Do you want me to square it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad that worked because I did notice that one of my pieces was way higher than the other piece.
It's fine. It is fine. Another squaring tip that I keep in mind while I'm squaring is knowing that at the points I want to have about 1/4 inch of sewable space.
And this is 16.5, right? Mm-hmm. Just checking.
Yep, 16.5. So a lot of times I'll just do my first cut at 1/4 inch out and then go from there. Just another idea, just another thought, not a hard and fast rule.
See, when I was thinking about doing this, I thought, oh, I'll just do it with wonky legs. But it just did not work.
Wonky legs would work if, like, your whole quilt is wonky,
yeah.
You know? But then things may not line up.
But Storm at Sea has such movement.
You want things to touch each other. You want some of the points to meet up.
Right.
So that is why that would be a little bit tricky. It'll be a little blocky doing it that way. Okay. All right.
And these are all the blocks that you need to make this whole quilt. So just those 3. So here's your star legs. 1 out, 1 out. They should be the same size as your big block. Go ahead, put your big block
and
up
then
there.
This one goes here.
This one goes here. Careful on that squeak.
Oh, it's a squeaky section. This one goes here. So when you put the quilt together, you're going to lay it out with a small square and a square, diamond, small square and a square, diamond, small square and a square. And then this one is diamond, large, and then small, and then large, and then small.
Yep, perfect.
And that's it.
Whoop. And that really is how easy it is. So it's these blocks right here.
Yeah, so we can actually create it this way too. This is another real traditional way to look at the square in a square, or the storm at sea.
That's the leg.
I know, but I'm just showing that the block itself, if you are not making anything with legs, pretend there's no legs on it. The block looks like this. You have the diamonds on the sides, the large one in the middle. This is the large storm at sea block.
That is the large storm at sea block.
And if you make this
Can we
block
do this?
over and over, sure.
There we go.
Whatever makes you happy.
Thank you.
That is the storm at sea block.
And if you make it over and over,
you have a beautiful quilt.
just make sure you get these in the right place and not on the top. Anyway, we want to thank Deonn for letting us do this. She's an amazing pattern designer, lots of different designs on her site. She's also a really good friend to us here at Missouri Star.
Yep.
And
this quilt ended up being 56 square.
It's a pretty good size. What do we quilt it with?
We quilted it with Time Warp, which is just one of my current faves. I'm kind of obsessed with it.
You are a little obsessed with it. It's very fun, and it's Tsunami, and this is our first swing at the Storm at Sea block.
Sea.
And we hope you enjoyed this tutorial from Natalie and I at the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you aren't already part of the Missouri Star Quilt Company family, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.